today. You all, dear friends, on behalf of the All India Civic Education Committee, I welcome you all for this protest meeting today against this uh, a mega corruption in NEET 2024 results, the UGC NET and the uh, NEET PG has been postponed. Day by day, we are observing there has been a large scale corruption in all these examinations. Very, very unfortunate that lakhs of students have been virtually penalized and punished for no fault of theirs. Day and night, every day for 12 hours, 15 hours, students are studying. For several years, they put their hard work to take up these competitive examinations. But after appearing for this competitive examination, when the results are out, we are seeing there has been a large scale corruption, particularly this NEET UG. We have seen such a corruption it is. It's very, very unfortunate. Those students or the coaching institutes which are virtually able to leak the question papers, or some of the coaching institutes which have been virtually uh, booked for all such malpractices, we have observed there the results have shot up like anything. This year, particularly, we have seen there have been several instances, it is already being reported. One student who got 550 marks. Last year, that student got ranking somewhere around 45,000, 46,000. Now that ranking has gone to 1 lakh. It is impossible for the student to get a medical seat, particularly a merit seat. It is a shame on our examination system. It is a shame on our democracy today. And this is how students are being treated. And very, very unfortunately, we are seeing the people who are at the helm of the affairs, the education minister, he is totally defending the NTA, and quite openly they are rejecting. There has been no malpractice, there is no problem. Results are okay. It is most unfortunate thing what is happening. All over the country, the students are on the streets, they are protesting. The academicians, educationists, all are very much worried and they are concerned. Everywhere protests are going on. On behalf of our All India Civic Education Committee, we are developing a countrywide movement. In several states, the protests are going on, involving students, teachers, professors. The protests are going on. Now, from this June 27th up to this July 4th, a week-long protest we had organized. As a part of this ongoing protest, today we are organizing this protest meeting against this mega corruption, a massive corruption in the NEET UG results and other examination. And in this protest meeting, many eminent educationists, they are all with us. This protest meeting is going on both online and offline. Hundreds of our teachers, professors, they are viewing this program in different cities and towns of our country, and thousands of our teachers, students, they are viewing online. So once again, from on behalf of the All India Committee of All India Civic Education Committee, I welcome all of you for this protest meeting. It's a very happy thing that for today's protest, we are having our distinguished All India President, Shri Prakash Shah. You know, he is a well-known journalist, he's a writer, and more than that, he has been a fighter, inspiring the students, teachers, and all sections of the people for all the democratic rights, educational rights. He has always been in the forefront of this struggle. He is with us, guiding us, and joining hands with us. So, on behalf of our All India Civic Education Committee, I propose the name of Shri Prakash Shah to be the president of today's this protest meeting. Welcome, Shri Prakash Ensha.
I support
So,
the proposal
with the-
of Professor Prakash Shah's name as president. At this old age, he has been inspiring us in various stages of the movement. So I request Professor Sri Prakash Shah to preside over the All India protest meeting. Thank you. Thank you all.
Dear friends, with the permission of our honorable president of this meeting, we will start the program. For the viewers, I like to welcome all our distinguished guests here. Today we have Professor L. Jawahar Nesan. He was the former Vice Chancellor of JSS Technological University, Mysuru in Karnataka, and he was the one of the important members of the high-level committee in Tamil Nadu to probe into the NEET. He is with us. I welcome Professor Jawahar Nesan, and along with us, Professor Arun Kumar. He is an economics professor and former president of JNU Teachers Association. He is there with us. I welcome him also. Then we have Professor Ram Punyani. You all know he is an educationist. He is a fighter for all the human rights. Wherever there is a attack on the human rights against communalism, he has been very, very vocal. He is there with us. I welcome him also. And our General Secretary, Professor Tarun Kanti Naskar, is a retired professor from Jadavpur University. He has been the General Secretary of All India Civ Education Committee. He is leading our educational movement since several years, being an inspiration to us. He is with us. I welcome him also. Then, lastly, but very importantly, we have Professor Sukhdev Thorat, sir. I did not tell about him. All of you know. He is a very well-known educationist. He was the former chairman of University Grants Commission. He is there with us. He will uh, say a few words as his observation after all the speakers deliver their speeches. In the end, Professor Sukhdev Thorat sir will give his observations and remarks. So he has also joined with us. It's a very happy thing. I welcome him also on behalf of all of you. So, friends, to begin the program, I request Professor Arun Kumar. Already I told you, he is an economist and he was the president of the JNU Teachers Association. He is there with us. So, in the beginning, he will address the uh, program.
Speech. Let me first place the resolution of the meeting. Then I would request Professor Arun Kumar. Shekhar, this is the
Yes,
program.
yes, yes, Professor. Yes, yes. Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry. Professor Tarun Naskar will place the resolution first. I am sorry, I missed it.
okay. Now, again, on behalf of AISCC, I welcome you all, Professor Arun Kumar, former president of JNU TA, and then famous economist, Professor Ram Punyani, is former professor of IIT Mumbai, Professor L. Jawahar Nesan, is former vice chancellor and member of high-level committee on NEET. Dr. Kapil Khan will join. He is humanitarian pediatrician and author, founder of Health for All and Dr. Chandok. And Professor Shukdev Purat is there. He is former chairman of EPC. So all the speakers are present. Now I will move the main resolution of today's protest meeting. Before that, I will say a few words. Already we have come to know the nature and dimension of scam in NEET 2024. So it has already been exposed to the people of the country. The NTA, that is the National Testing Agency, is a central agency and it was constituted by the Union Education Ministry for conduction of all India level competitive examination like NEET, UGC and CSIR NETs, CUET, etc. And now the credibility of NTA, reliability of NTA are under serious questions. The way the papers were leaked in NEET 2024, the involvement of the coaching mafia, I must say the coaching mafia, who are spread all over the country, hijacking of the exam centers, involvement of solver gangs in lieu of crores of rupees, preponing of date of publication of results by as many as 10 days before, and last but not the least, the vain and naked attempt by the minister himself to hush up the issue, all of which palpably exposes the nature of the scam occurred this year in this very important qualifying exam for medical students who ultimately become doctors, will become doctors and will serve as pillars of health system of our country. So it is beyond doubt that these malpractices have been the practice for years, and only this year it came to light due to the desperateness of the perpetrators. We can recall that on the very day the NEET was introduced in 2013, replacing state level entrance exams, and it was opposed by organizations of medical students and doctor forum. For next 2 years, they could not hold this exam, and their contention has now been proved to be correct that with the introduction of NEET, the entire medical education would go under the control of coaching mafia and would benefit the moneyed people only, and it would thereby be completely bereft of merit. The marginalized section of students, even if they have merit, they cannot join medical education. In the early days, when there are state level examinations, then these category of students they could have joined. But now, when the examination is centralized, when NEET has been imposed from there on, the entire education has been thrown into the hands of the coaching mafia. The credibility of the NTA further exposed when another exam, that is UGC NET, conducted by it was cancelled on the very next day it was held. There was countrywide protest by the opposition parties and organizations like us, that is the IUCC. But these opposition parties' agenda regarding education is not different, and these came to fore very quickly. The ruling dispensation, whatever it is there at the center, and the opposition parties, the main opposition parties, their agenda is same. And you know that close on the heels of the news of NEET scam came to surface the news that the Karnataka government urged to central government for 50% quota for NRIs. That includes 508 supplementary seats in medical college. And our concern is these seats should be virtually auctioned to wealthy Indians under the cover of NRIs. So it is also a design on the part of the Karnataka government and the ruling party there to commercialize the medical education. So since on 4th July, 4th June, when this scam exposed, All India Civic Education Committee decided to protest against this, and we called a protest week from 27 June to 3rd July. And during this period, all over the country, there are so many protest programs. Even today, there are some protest programs in the morning. Delhi, MP, Gujarat, Assam, Tripura, West Bengal, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, the AICC state chapters in those states organize protest meetings, dharnas, rallies, deputations, etc. So we are on the streets against this, against the privatization and commercialization of education and centralization of education. We are opposed to this. So now I will read out the main resolution for today's conference, today's All India protest meeting. Main resolution to be adopted in the All India protest meeting being held today, the 4th of July 2024. This All India protest meeting organized by AICC is being held at a time when the entire nation in general and the student community of the country in particular are still struggling to come out of the trauma that resulted from the unprecedented corruption and irregularities committed in the National Testing Agency (NTA) conducted NEET UG examination just a month ago. While the biggest ever educational scam committed in the NEET UG has sent shockwaves all around, the already held UGC NEET examination has been cancelled. Because of the scale and extent of this corruption, other centrally conducted examinations like CSIR NET, NEET PG have also been postponed. These incidents of corruption have surpassed all records of examination, related irregularities, and corruption committed in the past. This All India protest meeting is of the firm opinion that this ugly reality is the direct result of commercialization of education, wherein merit has been replaced by money. In fact, commercialization of education is the main thrust of the NEP 2020. Hence, this protest meeting urges upon the people of the country to stand up united against NEP 2020 that advocates and facilitates sale of education or money. This biggest ever educational scam once again brings to the fore the existing unholy nexus between the greedy owners of the coaching business and the people in power. The resulting situation threatens to put in jeopardy the academic future of our deserving and meritorious students. Commercialization of education has been further strengthened by centralization of education, which the NTA represents. Hence, this meeting condemns unequivocally the National Testing Agency and demands that this corruption-bidding NTA be immediately scrapped. This meeting recalls at the very time of the reintroduction of NEET in 2016 after the gap of 2 years, replacing the state level entrance exams. It was opposed by organizations of medical students and doctor forum. Their contention has now been proved to be correct that with the introduction of NEET, the entire education would go under the control of the coaching mafia and would benefit the rich and money only and would direct the and would thereby bereft of merit. This protest meeting also condemns in no uncertain terms the role of the Union Minister of Education, who initially refused to admit the news of the leakage of questions of both this examination of NEET UG and UGC NET, and later tried to suppress the news. The people of the country are also greatly astonished by the unexpected silence of the Prime Minister on such a great issue. The chronological order of events occurring in the case of the NEET UG proves conclusively that both the NTA and the Ministry of Education were in the know of the irregularities and the scams committed. These got further substantiated in the subsequent arrest, both in the states of Bihar and Gujarat, and the recovery of burned question papers in Patna. And now this has been identified that several states are already involved. This protest meeting is of the considered opinion that these scams in the conduct of national level examination are the direct fallout of the centralization of education and educational administration, which are the essential features of NEP 2020. And AISCC has been strongly opposing this centralization. The meeting of teachers, education students, and parents taking serious note of and expressing great anguish over the situation, resulting out of a total lack of concern for the aspiring students on the one hand and absence of professionalism and integrity on the other, with the NEET, NTA, and the people at the helm of affairs feels that the need of the hour to ensure transparency in all the examinations in the interest of the students is to praise the central government for fulfilling the following just and legitimate demands. One, cancel the result of NEET 2024 and arrange immediately re-NEET so that there is no further academic loss. Two, scrap NEET and replace it by state level entrance examination. Three, set up a judicial inquiry committee headed by a sitting Supreme Court judge to probe who and mete out exemplary punishment to all who are responsible for this scam. Four, abolish NTA, a design of centralization of education. Five, resignation of the Indian Minister of Education responsible for all these malpractices. And last, six, withdraw NEP 2020, the root of all evils, and replace it with a genuinely pro-people education policy. Thanking you all, respected President, this motion, this resolution, for the consideration of all the honorable speakers. Thanking you all again. Okay,
Thank you, Professor Tarun Naskar, for moving this resolution. So it has been taken note by all of us. Now, I request Professor Kumar, the president of JNU Teachers Association, so to deliver his talk.
I have a presentation. Can I make the presentation?
Yeah, sir. Yeah. I think, yeah.
I'm trying to get the. It's not coming.
Yes, Professor Arun Kumar. You can present.
I know I'm trying, but somehow it's okay. Can you see the? Hello, can you see it now? Hello.
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So I was told that I should present a broad view of the situation and speak in Hindi. So my slides are in English and I'll speak in Hindi. So I'm a retired professor of economics from JNU, and I was the president of Teachers Association of JNU in 2014-15. So as a preliminary, जो ये आज की बात चल रही है, जो मैल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में, वो सिर्फ शिक्षा की वजह से नहीं है, वो सभी जगह से खबर आ रही है, एडमिशंस में और बाकी चीज़ों में. तो ये जो क्राइसिस है, ये हमारे समाज का क्राइसिस है और हमारे शिक्षा पद्धति का क्राइसिस है. तो आज तो हम थोड़ी बात करेंगे, लेकिन ये मेरी कुछ किताबें हैं जहाँ पे मैंने लिखा है इन सब चीज़ों के बारे में. तो जैसे कि ये चैलेंजेस फेसिंग इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज हम लोगों ने टीचर्स एसोसिएशन जेएनयू की तरफ से निकाली थी 2003 में. तो इसमें प्रोफेसर थोरट का आर्टिकल भी है. प्रोफेसर थोरट तो हमारे साथ आज जुड़े हुए हैं. और अभी हम लोगों ने एक रिपोर्ट निकाली है एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट पे. उसमें भी हमने शिक्षा के बारे में काफी विस्तार से चर्चा की है, और खासकर पैंडेमिक के दौरान जो समस्या आई है. अब क्योंकि हम अपने शिक्षा पद्धति की तरफ से बात कर रहे हैं, तो समाज में शिक्षा पद्धति का क्या रोल है, इसको हमें समझना बहुत जरूरी है. जो शिक्षा है उसको हम चाहते हैं कि उसका जो फल क्या निकले, तो वो एग्जाम्स के जरिए से निकलता है. वो एग्जाम्स एक स्क्रीनिंग मैकेनिज्म है, और अगर वो फेयर नहीं होंगे, अगर उसमें धांधलेबाजी होगी, तो जो हमारे छात्र हैं वो शिक्षा पद्धति में अपना जो फेथ है वो उसको लूज करेंगे, और उनको समाज में लगेगा कि इनजस्टिस है समाज में. और अगर उनको ये लगेगा कि समाज में इनजस्टिस है, तो उनका जो लॉन्ग टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव है, जो आज वो छात्र के रूप में उनका पर्सपेक्टिव बिल्ड हो रहा है, उनको लगेगा समाज में ही जस्टिस नहीं है. तो एक तरह से समाज पे बड़ा असर पड़ेगा कि जो आज का जो छात्र है, जो युवा है, जब वो बड़ा होगा तो वो उसका समाज पे विश्वास नहीं रहेगा, और वो समझेगा कि समाज में जस्टिस अगर नहीं है तो उसको भी जस्टिस नहीं मिल रहा है. और फिर उनको लगेगा कि अगर समाज में जस्टिस नहीं है तो पढ़ाई लिखाई से, मेहनत करके और जो इससे कितना फायदा होगा. और अगर जो हमें गलत काम करके ही पैसे से या कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के जरिए से हमें करना है, तो हम क्यों ज्यादा पढ़ाई लिखाई पे करें. तो इससे हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति पे और समाज पे बहुत गहरा असर पड़ेगा, जिसका असर ये होगा कि जो हमारा जो एक समाज पे जो एक दायित्व होता है समाज का, कि वो बच्चों को किस प्रकार से बड़ा करे, वही बिगड़ जाएगा. अब सवाल उठता है कि जो अनफेयर मीन्स इस्तेमाल किए जा रहे हैं, जो गड़बड़ियां धांधलेबाजी की जा रही है, वो अब सिस्टेमिक हो गया है. ऐसा नहीं कि पहले जो पेपर लीक नहीं होता था या गड़बड़ी नहीं होती थी, पर वो कभी कभी होता था, और वो कुछ छोटे तबके पे होता था. लेकिन आज जो खबर आ रही है वो सिस्टेमिक हो गया है, वो सिस्टमैटिकली हो रहा है। मतलब कहा जा रहा है कि पिछले 10 साल में 70 से भी ज्यादा इम्तिहान हैं जहाँ पे पर्चे लीक हो गए। अभी हमने देखा कि वो सिर्फ शिक्षा में ही नहीं, अभी जो पुलिस का इम्तिहान हुआ था जो उत्तर प्रदेश में, जहाँ पे कि करीब 50 लाख छात्रों ने अप्लाई किया था ये 50,000 नौकरियों के लिए, वहां पे वो पेपर लीक हो गया और उसका इम्तिहान कैंसिल हो गया। बच्चे बड़े दूर दूर से आए, उन्होंने इंतजाम किया, खर्चा किया, उनके पेरेंट्स भी उनके साथ आए। और ये मान के चलना चाहिए कि जब जब पेपर जब रिपीट होता है या पेपर जब कैंसिल हो जाता है तो उसका असर सिर्फ छात्र पे नहीं पड़ता, उसका असर सारे परिवार पे पड़ता है। सारा परिवार बड़ी मुश्किल से पैसे निकाल के और जब बच्चे को इम्तिहान के लिए भेजता है, उसकी तैयारी करवाता है, उसकी कोचिंग करवाता है वगैरह वगैरह, और परिवार में टेंशन रहती है। तो इसलिए ये एक बहुत ही अहम चीज है जिसका असर छात्रों पे ही नहीं सारे परिवार पे और सारे समाज पे असर पड़ता है। इसलिए ये जो सिस्टमिक हो गया है इसको हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि इसका किस प्रकार से हुआ है। और अगर जब बच्चों के फॉर्मेटिव डेज जो अभी हैं, जब वो पढ़ाई लिखाई कर रहे हैं, जब वो अपना जो आइडियाज फॉर्म कर रहे हैं, और उसी में अगर वो सारे सिस्टम के ऊपर सवाल उठाना शुरू करेंगे तो आप देखिएगा कि वो आगे चल के बहुत सेल्फ सेंटर्ड हो जाएंगे, वो एटमाइज्ड हो जाएंगे, और फिर उससे हमारा जो कलेक्टिव एक्शन है आगे वो कमजोर पड़ जाता है। तो ये हम देख रहे हैं कि कलेक्टिव एक्शन समाज में बड़ा मुश्किल से हो रहा है, और उसके पीछे ये जो सेल्फ सेंटर्डनेस और एटमाइजेशन है उसका एक बड़ा हाथ है। और जैसे जैसे समाज पे आस्था कम होगी बच्चों की, तो ये मेरा मानना है कि और भी ज्यादा समाज में गड़बड़ी पैदा होगी ये सेल्फ सेंटर्डनेस और एटमाइजेशन से। इसका असर पॉलिटिकल भी होता है, क्योंकि पॉलिटिकली भी जो सेल्फ सेंटर्ड और एटमाइज्ड जो लोग होते हैं वो अपने लिए सोचते हैं, वो समाज के लिए कम सोचते हैं, और उससे फिर समाज को काफी नुकसान पैदा होता है। तो ये जो हमारे क्या क्या कारण हैं इस तरह की जो गैर कानूनी काम और जो अनफेयरनेस है, उसके पीछे हमारा मानना है, जो हम लोगों ने अपनी रोजगार और बेरोजगारी की रिपोर्ट अभी जारी की थी, उसमें हमने दिखाया कि आज हमारे समाज में करीब 320 मिलियन यानी 32 करोड़ लोग हैं जिनके पास कोई ढंग का काम है, लेकिन 28 करोड़ हैं जिनके पास ढंग का काम नहीं है या काम बिल्कुल ही नहीं है। और ये 28 करोड़ का जो बैकलॉग है, और आप ये मान के चले कि करीब हम लोगों ने दिखाया अपनी रिपोर्ट में कि 2.4 करोड़ बच्चे जो 15 साल के ऊपर के होते हैं वो हर साल मार्केट में आते हैं काम ढूंढने के लिए। तो ये 28 करोड़ एक तरफ से जो बैकलॉग है, और 2.4 करोड़ बच्चे जो आ रहे हैं, इनको सबको नौकरी चाहिए, इनको काम चाहिए। और ये जो समाज में जो काम की जो कमी है उसकी वजह से कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बहुत तेजी से बढ़ रहा है। और ये हमारा मानना है कि जो गैर कानूनी काम होते हैं उसके पीछे भी ये वजह है कि लोग चाहते हैं कि किसी न किसी तरह से हमें कोई काम मिल जाए, उसके लिए जो इम्तिहान है वो कैसे जैसे तैसे पास कर लें, चाहे वो पुलिस का इम्तिहान हो, रेलवे की भर्ती हो, कहीं भी हो, हमें कुछ न कुछ काम मिले। तो ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की वजह से जो और ज्यादा परेशानी बढ़ जाती है। जैसे कि ऑलरेडी बताया गया कि आजकल कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट बहुत ज्यादा कर रहे हैं, बच्चे क्लास कम जा रहे हैं, कोचिंग में ज्यादा जा रहे हैं, और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट को अपना रिजल्ट अच्छा दिखाना होता है। अच्छा रिजल्ट दिखाने के लिए वो जो क्वेश्चन पेपर लीकेज और तरह तरह की जो धांधलेबाजी और गड़बड़ियां वो करते हैं। तो जो आज का जो समाज है उसमें जो मनी पावर है वो एक तरह से रिजर्वेशन दे रही है। रिजर्वेशन नहीं तो जो पिछड़े वर्ग हैं उनको रिजर्वेशन मिलता है, लेकिन जो पैसे से खरीद के या जो गलत काम करके कर रहे हैं वो भी एक तरह से जो मनी पावर का रिजर्वेशन हो रहा है। और जो हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति है उसमें बच्चों का बहुत ज्यादा उत्साह नहीं होता, क्योंकि आज रट्टा मार की पढ़ाई होती है। ये रोट लर्निंग जो है ये बहुत ज्यादा फैल गई है। हम लोग देखते हैं कि बच्चे कुंजी लेके कुंजी से रट्टा लगा के और इम्तहान पास कर लेते हैं। तो जो कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं वो बहुत ही नैरोली फोकस करते हैं इम्तहान पे, जिससे कि बच्चा जो इम्तहान में अच्छा करे तो फिर अगले साल उनके पास और लोग आएंगे, और लोग करेंगे तो उनका जो फायदा है वो और ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा। तो ये कोचिंग का जो फिनोमेना है उसने जो वाइडर लर्निंग है समाज में उसको जो कमजोर कर दिया है, और एग्जाम पे फोकस आ गया है, एग्जाम टेक्निक पे फोकस आ गया है, जिससे कि जो एक जो वातावरण था जिसमें कि एक वाइडर लर्निंग होती थी, जिसमें कि बच्चों को चीजें समझने का समय होता था, वो समय खत्म हो गया है। अब उनको सिर्फ जो एग्जाम की तैयारी करके और इम्तिहान पास करना यही एक मेन गोल हो गया है। और जिसका हमने देखा कि बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर पड़ रहा है बच्चों पे, बहुत सारी सुसाइड्स हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि जब वो इतना पैसा खर्च करके और परिवार को डिसअपॉइंट नहीं करना चाहते तो ये करते हैं। इसके साथ एक और चीज जो जुड़ी हुई है कि हम सोचते हैं कि हमारे जो एजुकेशन के स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं वो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन से हम अचीव कर लेंगे, लेकिन जो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन है, जो इम्तिहान में हम देख रहे हैं, उसमें हमारे जो क्वेश्चंस हैं, जो सवाल पूछे जाते हैं वो बड़े मैकेनिकली होते हैं और उसको जो कंप्यूटराइज वे में उसको जो जांचा जाता है, तो उसमें जो मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चंस हैं वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं, लेकिन जो एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी है, खासकर जो ऊंची शिक्षा है उसमें जो एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी चाहिए होती है वो एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी का जो टेस्ट नहीं होता है। तो बहुत ही मैकेनिकली हम जो अपना जब पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, बहुत मैकेनिकली हम अपने इम्तिहानों की तरफ ध्यान दे रहे हैं। तो ये जो स्टैंडर्ड्स को अचीव करना हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति में, उसके लिए जो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन किया जा रहा है वो भी एक तरह से इस सब के लिए पीछे जो गड़बड़ी है उस सब के पीछे ये भी एक धारणा है कि हम स्टैंडर्ड्स को अचीव कर लेंगे स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन से, वो चाहे करिकुलम में हो, वो चाहे इम्तिहान में हो, वो चाहे पढ़ाई लिखाई में हो। ये धारणा सही नहीं है, क्योंकि जो एजुकेशन है उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा डाइवर्सिटी होती है, वो स्टैंडर्डाइज एग्जामिनेशन से नापी नहीं जा सकती है। तो इससे भी एक परेशानी जो आती है हमारे सिस्टम में। फिर जो अगली चीज जो मैं बताना चाहता हूँ वो ये कि आज हमारे जो टीचर्स हैं उनका स्टेटस समाज में वो काफी कमजोर हो गया है, और उसी से क्या हो रहा है कि जो टीचर्स हैं उनका कमिटमेंट भी कमजोर हो रहा है। इसलिए देखा गया है कि जगह जगह पे टीचर्स जो हैं वो भी एक तरह से ये गलत कामों में फंस जाते हैं, और जो टीचर टॉट रिलेशनशिप है वो कमर्शलाइज होता चला जा रहा है, मैकेनिकल होता चला जा रहा है, ट्यूशन पे निर्भर किया जाता है। जो बहुत सारे टीचर्स हैं वो कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट में भी पढ़ाते हैं, ट्यूशन वगैरह भी करते हैं। तो उससे जो एक टीचर का एक आइडिया है कि वो एक तरह से नॉर्म प्रेजेंट करे, अपना एक तरह से एक आइडियल फॉर्म प्रेजेंट करे कि आइडियल क्या होना चाहिए समाज में। तो वो जो टीचर टॉट रिलेशनशिप है जो कमर्शलाइज और मैकेनाइज हो जाता है, तो उससे जो बच्चों पे भी असर पड़ता है। और क्योंकि ये मैकेनिकल हो जाता है तो जो एक्साइटमेंट होना चाहिए लर्निंग के लिए, जो एक समझ जो है बिल्ड करने के लिए, वो भी खत्म होने लगता है। और ये मैकेनिकली जो पढ़ानी और लर्निंग है वो जो एक मैकेनिकली करियर के साथ जुड़ जाता है। तो जो हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति है उसमें डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन और सिटीजनशिप का रोल बहुत बड़ा था। अब जैसे कि बच्चे स्कूल में हैं, वहां पे पहले गरीब, अमीर और मिडिल क्लास के बच्चे एक साथ पढ़ते थे, तो वो एक डेमोक्रेटाइजिंग रोल होता था और सिटीजनशिप बिल्डिंग का रोल वहां पे पैदा होता था। तो पहले तो हमारे स्कूलों में सेग्रीगेशन हो गया कि अमीर के बच्चे अमीर स्कूल में जाते हैं, मिडिल क्लास के बच्चे मिडिल क्लास स्कूल में जाते हैं, गरीब बच्चे जो गरीब स्कूलों में जाते हैं। तो वो जो सेपरेशन हुआ पहले स्कूलों में, उसका असर हुआ फिर हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज में और कॉलेजेस में, वहां पे भी सेपरेशन हो रहा है। अब अमीर बच्चे विदेश चले जाते हैं या वो जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर में चले जाते हैं। तो जो एक डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन और सिटीजनशिप का रोल होना चाहिए था वो रोल भी कम होने लगा है, और इसमें टीचर्स का रोल मॉडल बहुत ही अहम है। तो हमारा जो एजुकेशन का रोल था पहले वो एक हमारे समाज को रिफॉर्म करने का था, जिससे कि हमारा जो समाज है वो एक सही तरह का समाज बने जहाँ पे डेमोक्रेटिक नॉर्म्स, डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज ये ज्यादा हों। लेकिन देखा ये जा रहा है कि जो आज का सिस्टम है, वो जो आज के सोशल सिस्टम है उसको रिप्रोडक्शन करने में लगा हुआ है, और जो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड की बात है वो अब दूर चली गई है, क्योंकि जब अगर शिक्षा अच्छी नहीं होगी तो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड भी नहीं मिलेगा। डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड का मतलब है कि जो बच्चे हैं जो पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं वो जब बड़े होके काम करेंगे तो उसकी जो प्रोडक्टिविटी है उससे हमारे अर्थव्यवस्था को फायदा होगा। लेकिन अगर शिक्षा अच्छी होगी, बच्चे अगर उनका मन उसमें शिक्षा से हट जाएगा तो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड नहीं मिलेगा। अगर बेरोजगारी होगी तो एक्चुअली में जो हमारा बर्डन है परिवार पे वो और बढ़ जाएगा, तो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड उससे भी नहीं मिलेगा। अब सवाल उठता है कि हमारी जो शिक्षा है उसको हम किस प्रकार से फाइनेंस करें। तो दो तरीके हो सकते हैं, या तो पब्लिक फाइनेंस करें या प्राइवेटली फाइनेंस करें। लेकिन सोचने की बात यह है कि हमारे जो समाज के रिसोर्सेज हैं वो पब्लिकली भी स्पेंड हो रहे हैं, प्राइवेटली भी स्पेंड हो रहे हैं। तो जो ये पब्लिक हो या प्राइवेट हो, इस पे हमें ध्यान देना बहुत ही जरूरी है, क्योंकि जो पब्लिक का रोल है, पब्लिक सेक्टर का रोल है, वो अभी तक अहम होता था, धीरे धीरे वो प्राइवेट का रोल ज्यादा होता चला जा रहा है। खासकर जब नई आर्थिक नीतियां लगी सन 91 के बाद से, तो सरकार का रोल कम होता चला गया है, पब्लिक सेक्टर का रोल कम होता चला गया है, और हमने बाजारीकरण को आगे प्रमोट किया है कि अगर अच्छी शिक्षा चाहिए तो बाजार में जाके मिलेगी, और जो गरीब के बच्चे हैं उनको अच्छी शिक्षा नहीं मिल रही है। तो जैसे कि एसर की रिपोर्ट जो आती है, एनुअल स्टेटस ऑफ एजुकेशन रिपोर्ट, वो दिखा रही है कि 50% बच्चे 5वीं जमात में दूसरी तीसरी शिक्षा की नहीं कर पाते हैं, पढ़ाई लिखाई और गणित। और अभी जो रिसेंट रिपोर्ट आई 4-5 महीने पहले, उसमें दिखाया कि 14 से 18 साल के जो बच्चे हैं उनमें से 40% बच्चे दूसरी जमात की पढ़ाई लिखाई गणित नहीं कर पाते हैं। तो ये देखा गया है कि हमारा जो बाजार है वो एक तरह से फेल कर रहा है अच्छी शिक्षा देने के लिए। और जब बाजार फेल कर रहा है तो फिर पब्लिक सेक्टर को और सरकार को सामने आना चाहिए और ये सबको अच्छी शिक्षा देनी चाहिए। तो ये हम लोग जो टेक्निकल लिटरेचर होती है हमारी इकोनॉमिक्स की, उसमें कहते हैं कि एजुकेशन इज अ केस ऑफ मेरिट वांट, यानी मेरिट वांट है तो इसलिए इसमें सरकार का दखल बहुत ही जरूरी है। दूसरी बात यह है कि इसमें एक एसिमेट्रिक इंफॉर्मेशन है, यानी जो पढ़ाने वाले हैं, जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, उन्हें पता है कि हम क्या शिक्षा दे रहे हैं, लेकिन जो पेरेंट्स हैं, जो बच्चे हैं, उनको ठीक से पता नहीं है कि वो किस प्रकार की शिक्षा मिलेगी जिससे वो किस प्रकार का वो काम कर पाएंगे। तो यहाँ पे इसका फायदा उठा के जहाँ पे कि पहले यूजीसी के जो शिक्षा में चार्ज किया जाता था हायर एजुकेशन में 15 रुपए, 18 रुपए, 24 रुपए, अब वो हजारों लाखों रुपए में चार्ज हो रहा है। तो बहुत ज्यादा परिवारों के ऊपर बर्डन बढ़ गया है अच्छी शिक्षा के लिए। और देखा गया इम्तिहान में क्वेश्चन पेपर लीकेज में 20-20, 30-30, 40-40 लाख रुपए लिया जा रहा है। और उसी तरह मेडिकल उसके लिए जो कैपिटेशन फी प्राइवेट सेक्टर में है वो भी सुनने में आ रहा है कि लाखों करोड़ों में चलती है। तो कुल मिला के ये बहुत ही एक प्रॉफिटेबल वेंचर हो गया है जो कॉमर्शलाइजेशन के चलते हुए। और इसलिए हम देख रहे हैं कि तरह तरह के पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स और जो और बिजनेसमैन हैं वो इस शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में आए हैं और वो उनका काम है कि वो किसी तरह से प्रॉफिट कमाएं और उसके लिए वो कॉमर्शलाइजेशन एजुकेशन का उसको आगे प्रमोट कर रहे हैं। तो ये जो प्राइवेटाइजेशन हो रहा है, जो कॉमर्शलाइजेशन हो रहा है, इसी के साथ जैसे कि कहा गया था कि करप्शन जुड़ा हुआ है, क्योंकि इनको अगर और प्रॉफिट कमाना है तो इनको दिखाना पड़ेगा कि इनका रिजल्ट अच्छा है, तो जिससे कि जो और बच्चे इनके साथ आके एनरोल करें। तो इसीलिए ये माना जा रहा है कि जो आज बहुत ज्यादा कॉस्ट हो गया है, इसके पीछे भी एक तरह से करप्शन जुड़ा हुआ है। और हमारे देश में जो काले धन की अर्थव्यवस्था है वो अब 62% के करीब है, जो मैंने आंका था 2012-13 के लिए। तो यानी कि आज की 300 लाख करोड़ रुपए की अर्थव्यवस्था में 180 लाख करोड़ के काला धन की उपज हो रही है। तो ये जो कुछ लोग हैं, जो 3% लोग जिनकी काली कमाई ज्यादा है, वो कोशिश में लगे हुए हैं कि अगर उनके बच्चे अच्छा नहीं भी करते पढ़ाई में तो किसी न किसी तरह से चीटिंग से या किसी और तरीके से वो अपने बच्चों को मेडिकल में, इंजीनियरिंग में, बाकी और जगह दाखिला दिला दें, जिससे कि उनको जो है आगे चल के फायदा हो। तो ये जो प्राइवेटाइजेशन है और जो हमारा एक तरह से पब्लिक सेक्टर का जो डिक्लाइन है वो भी इसके पीछे है कि किस प्रकार से हमारा समस्या बढ़ रही है। अब जो शिक्षा पद्धति है उसके आज के चैलेंजेस क्या हैं, तो ये मेरा मानना है कि जो हमारे टीचिंग है और रिसर्च, इसको जो हमने अलग कर दिया हायर एजुकेशन में, ये हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति को बहुत बड़ा असर डाल रही है। क्योंकि इससे हुआ क्या है कि टीचिंग बहुत ही फॉर्मलिस्टिक हो गई है, वो सिर्फ क्लासरूम में थियोरेटिकल और मैकेनिकली जो होती है। रिचर्ड थेन एक आए थे एक्सचेंज स्टूडेंट ब्राउन यूनिवर्सिटी से सेंट स्टीफेंस कॉलेज में, उन्होंने 2012 में एक लेख लिखा था और उन्होंने कहा कि किस प्रकार की शिक्षा सेंट स्टीफेंस कॉलेज में दी जा रही है, यहाँ बच्चों को समझ नहीं आ रहा है, वो सिर्फ रट के इम्तहान जब पास कर लेते हैं। मैंने भी 1984 में जब जेएनयू में पढ़ाना शुरू किया तो मैं ओपन बुक एग्जाम देता था। तो बच्चे कहते थे कि सर हम इम्तहान में सोच नहीं सकते हैं, हमें तो जो हमने पढ़ा है, जो रट लिया है, उसी का जो होना चाहिए। तो मैं उनसे कहता था कि आपको तो कोई रटने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि आपके पास तो अपने नोट्स हैं, तो आप तो सिर्फ अप्लाई करिए। लेकिन हमारे बच्चे जो 15 साल से रट के इम्तहान ले रहे हैं, वो एक इम्तहान में सोचने का काम नहीं कर सकते। तो मेरी उनके साथ सिंपैथी थी। ये दिखाता है कि हमारे बच्चे जो नॉलेज बिल्ड होनी चाहिए वो नॉलेज नहीं बिल्ड कर पाते हैं, क्योंकि वो रट के फिर भूल जाते हैं। और जो पढ़ाई लिखाई है वो एक तरह से मकान की तरह है, अगर नींव कमजोर होगी तो आगे भी कमजोरी बनी रहेगी। इसीलिए हम लोग R&D में काफी कमजोर हैं आज देश में। तो ये हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि किस प्रकार से पढ़ाना है। इसी के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है कि हमारे जो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं और एजुकेशनिस्ट हैं, वो बहुत ज्यादा ब्यूरोक्रेटाइज उनका एटीट्यूड होता है। वो 10 से 5 फंक्शन करते हैं। तो 10 से 5 मतलब कि आपने 5 बज गया, आपने फाइल बंद की, आप घर चले गए, ऐसे पढ़ाई लिखाई नहीं होती है, ऐसे रिसर्च नहीं होती है। जो रिसर्च के आइडियाज होते हैं, जो पढ़ाई के आइडियाज होते हैं, वो दिमाग में चलते रहते हैं, वो फाइल बंद नहीं होती, वो रात में आप 10 बजे 11 बजे भी हो सकता है कि वो काम करते रहे। मैं जब प्रिंसटन यूनिवर्सिटी में फिजिक्स में पीएचडी कर रहा था तो मैं देख रहा था कि हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में कई नोबेल प्राइज विनर्स हैं, उन्होंने बहुत कुछ अचीव कर लिया था, पर लेकिन वो फिर भी अपने रात में 12 बजे 1 बजे 2 बजे भी आप उनका कमरे में लाइट देखेंगे कि वो अपना काम कर रहे हैं, वो आगे खोज कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि एक इंटरेस्ट उससे डेवलप हो जाता है। तो आज हुआ क्या है कि हमारे जो शिक्षा पद्धति है उसमें जो हम एकेडमिक हैं, हमने ब्यूरोक्रेट्स और पॉलिटिशियंस के लिए काम छोड़ दिया है। हमने जो वो कहते हैं उसको मैकेनिकली फॉलो करते हैं। ये एक बहुत बड़ी कमजोरी आ गई है हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति में कि जो हमारे शिक्षक हैं जो जब ब्यूरोक्रेसी में आ जाते हैं या जो वीसी बन जाते हैं या ऊंचे ओहदे पे आते हैं, उनका भी जो माइंडसेट है वो ब्यूरोक्रेटाइज माइंडसेट होता है। तो वो जो सॉल्यूशंस देते हैं वो भी ब्यूरोक्रेटाइज्ड सॉल्यूशंस देते हैं, जिसका कि समाधान फिर हमारे अच्छे से नहीं निकलता है। तो ये जो स्पेसिफिक इश्यूज हैं उसमें अगर आप देखें तो आज हमारे समाज में बहुत बड़े बड़े फोर्सेस हैं जो प्राइवेटाइजेशन की तरफ हमें धकेल रहे हैं। तो इसलिए आज ये देखना पड़ेगा कि सिर्फ शिक्षा ही अपने आप में नहीं, शिक्षा में हम क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, हमारा क्या फिलोसॉफिकल व्यू है समाज के बारे में, समाज के जो नॉलेज जनरेशन के बारे में, आज क्या हम सोशली रेलेवेंट नॉलेज जनरेट कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे हैं। और उसी से निर्भर करता है कि हमारा जो रोल है समाज में वो क्या होगा और समाज में हमारे बारे में क्या सोचा जाएगा, क्या हमें वो जो ओहदा मिलेगा समाज में जिससे कि हमारा एक पर्सपेक्टिव डेवलप हो। तो ये जो एक हमारा जो फिलोसॉफिकल एस्पेक्ट्स है शिक्षा का और समाज का, वो दोनों आपस में जुड़े हुए हैं। और जो समाज में हम फुल लिटरेसी अगर ले भी आते हैं, लेकिन अगर हम रिप्रोड्यूस अनडेमोक्रेटिक पर्सपेक्टिव करें तो उससे भी फायदा नहीं होगा। तो कंटेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन वो बहुत ही ज्यादा जरूरी है। हम क्या डेमोक्रेटिक कंटेंट जो अपने शिक्षा पद्धति में रखे हुए हैं, खासकर स्कूलों में और कॉलेजेस में, पर अगर हमारा जो फोकस नैरोली मार्केट पे रहेगा, पैसे बनाने में और करियर में रहेगा, तो हम समाज के बारे में, जो समाज के चैलेंजेस हैं, उनके जो वाइडर चैलेंजेस हैं, उनके बारे में नहीं सोचेंगे। और इसी से हमारा जो एलिनेशन है समाज में और शिक्षा पद्धति में वो और ज्यादा बढ़ता चला जाएगा और इससे सोशल लिंकेजेस आपस में कमजोर होते चले जाएंगे। मुझे गांधी की याद आती है, उन्होंने कहा था कि जो हमारी जो शिक्षा पद्धति है वो एलिनेट करती है छात्रों को, तो इसलिए उन्होंने नई तालीम की भी बात की थी, जहाँ पे कि जो आपके शिक्षा है और जो आपकी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी है उसके बीच में लिंक बना रहे। तो इसलिए मेरा मानना है कि जो हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति की कमजोरियां हैं वो कॉलोनियल पीरियड के जो उससे लिंक्ड हैं, क्योंकि वहां से हमारा जो एटीट्यूड बिल्ड हुआ वो आज भी जो एक तरह से चला आ रहा है, जिसमें हम जो टीचिंग है और रिसर्च है उसको हम सेपरेट कर देते हैं। तो अब मैं कंक्लूड करूंगा कि अगर हमें यूनिवर्सल एजुकेशन है उसको अगर देना है और अच्छी तरह से देना है तो उसके लिए फिर हमें स्टेटस को चैलेंज करना पड़ेगा। जेएनयू एक उदाहरण है जहाँ पे कि हमने स्टेटस को चैलेंज किया, तो आज जेएनयू के ऊपर जबरदस्त आघात है। जेएनयू को तरह तरह से बदनाम किया गया, जेएनयू का जो टीचर्स वगैरह हैं उनको परेशान किया गया, कोशिश की जा रही है कि जेएनयू को किसी ना किसी तरह से कैप्चर कर लिया जाए। और जो बिजनेसेस हैं और जो बेटर जो समाज में लोग हैं, जो वेल ऑफ हैं, जो इलीट वर्ग है, वो चाहते हैं कि डोसाइल और सस्ता लेबर उनको मिले, वो लेबर प्रोटेस्ट न करे। तो अगर लेबर जो वर्कर अगर थिंकिंग वर्कर होगा तो वो अपनी कंडीशंस को देखेगा, वो डोसाइल नहीं रहेगा और वो फिर जो सस्ता लेबर भी नहीं प्रोवाइड करेगा। तो इसमें मुझे याद आता है जो कृष्णा भारद्वाज और अमित भादरी का सेमी फ्यूडलिज्म का मॉडल था, उन्होंने दिखाया था कि जो लैंडलॉर्ड है वो नहीं चाहता कि टेक्निकल चेंज हो, क्योंकि अगर टेक्निकल चेंज होगा तो उससे फिर जो सर्फ है, जो उनके वर्कर हैं, वो फिर उनके चंगुल से बाहर निकल जाएंगे। इसीलिए जो आज का जो समाज है वो नहीं चाहता कि अच्छी शिक्षा गरीब आदमी को, बच्चों को, गरीब बच्चों को मिले, जिससे कि जो उनका लेबर जो है उनको सही जो दाम वगैरह मिले। तो ये मेरा मानना है कि जो शिक्षा में जो कमजोरियां हैं उसको हम करेक्ट कर सकते हैं, उसको हम फर्म फुटिंग पे ला सकते हैं। इसमें कोई बहुत बड़ी वो समझ की जरूरत नहीं है, इसमें हमारे फिलोसॉफिकल जो कंटेंट है उसको बदलने की जरूरत है। तो शिक्षा को हम बेहतर बना सकते हैं अगर हमारी पॉलिटिकल विल हो। और पॉलिटिकल विल कहाँ से आएगी? वो हमारी पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी से आती है, जहाँ पे कि जो बड़े बड़े जो बिजनेसमैन हैं, जो कैपिटलिस्ट हैं, जो इलीट समाज है, वो नहीं चाहता कि अच्छी शिक्षा नीचे तक जाए। तो अगर आप देखें तो जो सूटेबल बॉय है विक्रम सेठ की, उन्होंने बताया कि 1950 के दशक में जो पॉलिटिक्स थी वो थी कि गरीब बच्चों को अच्छी शिक्षा ना मिले। ये मैंने देखा 76-77 में जब मैं रूरल डेवलपमेंट करने होशंगाबाद गया, तो वहाँ पे हम लोगों ने, जब हम पढ़ाते थे बच्चों को, तो जो वहाँ का लैंडलॉर्ड था वो कहता था कि अगर आप बच्चों को पढ़ा दोगे तो मैं गरड़िए का काम कौन करेगा। तो इसलिए मेरा मानना है कि जो अगर हमें अपने फ्यूचर के बारे में कंसर्न है, और आज खासकर ग्लोबलाइजिंग वर्ल्ड में जहाँ पे R&D क्रूशल है, तो हमें शिक्षा को नंबर 1 प्रायोरिटी देनी पड़ेगी। अगर शिक्षा को प्रायोरिटी नहीं देंगे तो सारी जो कमजोरियां हैं शिक्षा की, जो सारी परेशानियां हमें दिख रही हैं, वो चाहे इम्तहान में हो, चाहे हमारे करिकुलम में हो, वो चाहे पढ़ाई में हो, वो चाहे हमारे लो R&D बजट पे हो, इन सब चीजों का समाधान हम निकाल सकते हैं। उसके लिए संसाधन हमारे पास पर्याप्त हैं, संसाधनों की कमी नहीं है। कमी है तो हमारी पॉलिटिकल विल की कमी है। पॉलिटिकल विल जब हो जाएगी तो हम ये सब चीजों पे ध्यान देंगे और बेहतरी करेंगे, जिससे हमारा यूथ है वो आगे चल के देश को और आगे बढ़ाएगा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Professor Arun Kumar, for sharing your valuable insights and ideas with us. I thank you on behalf of our All India Civ Education Committee. Friends, now I invite Professor Rampunyani sir. You all know he is a retired professor from IIT Mumbai. He has been in the forefront of fighting for democratic rights, fight against communalism, for upholding secular ideas in our country. We are happy that he is with us. So I request Professor Rampunyani sir to share his views on this issue. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rajshekhar, and my warm hello to all professor colleagues. Of course, I must say that today's education, if you want to see, on one side we are seeing NEET exam, what is happening to the lakhs of families and thousands of children, how they are suffering because of the paper leakage. As they say, I think nearly in last 7 years, 70 papers have leaked. And reason is not very difficult to see, as Professor Arun Kumar gave a very exhaustive description of the real diagnosis of the disease which is gripping our education system. That is very obvious, and leaking of papers is the actually symptom of the deeper disorder in our educational system. One example I'll give you, it may be a bit humorous also. One of our central ministers was recently asked to inaugurate a Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao Abhiyan, like educate the girl child and save the girl child, that was a thing. And she was requested to write this on the blackboard. Surprisingly, she could not write the whole thing correctly. She is, of course, a minister. So that is one of the reflection as to what is happening to our education system. Here in Mumbai also, I see there is a huge chain of municipal schools. But the children who learn there, they really don't know what they are learning. Fourth standard, fifth standard children, they actually just learn the things by rote, and they don't know the meaning of what they are doing. So this whole degeneration of the educational system, the lot which has come into being, is primarily because of the commercialization, and as Professor Arun Kumar said, it has also become class-based. There are public schools, they are called public schools, but they are not meant for average public. They are meant for the elite of the society, and they have heavy fees and the type of curriculum. Some international schools are there. So even our universities also, one of the things which lately has been afflicting our university is that the selection and appointment of vice chancellors and faculty members, that is done more on ideological basis than on the question of merit. But one is, of course, there is a political influence also, the type of things which are affecting our education system. And deeper to that is basically the whole thing of privatization and coaching system. This privatization has so affected our system that people try to go to private schools thinking as the standards of the municipal schools, government schools is practically becoming a dead system where children don't learn anything, and where what comes out is something a illiterate labor force for the corporate sector of the society. So that is one major thing. And secondly, the coaching classes have really taken place. We all know the type of things which go on in coaching place, and this quota which has become very notorious for being a churning out students who can qualify in entrance exam of IIT. We see that there are a number of suicides per year which take place in these coaching centers like this. So everywhere I go and see the boards of these coaching centers proliferating like mushrooms. To my shock, in Times of India today or yesterday, I saw the opening major advertisement was that of a coaching institute, and then there are many coaching institutes which have become like giant corporations trying to appropriate so many things which are related to education. So education is basically a all-round development of personality, where the deeper concepts of education are understood by the students. They can understand it only when the atmosphere is very different and very conducive. And I firmly believe that this type of a coaching or privatization of education, this is greatly hampering the true education in our society. It is undoubted that the government public control over education system, our higher education system, AI is an absolute must. It is absolute must. Without that, the profiteers and all these people, they have been infiltrating the education system in a very damaging way. In our education system today is suffering more like something like cancer, which has become very deep set because of all these techniques. And parents are interested that the child should somehow pass the exam, try to go higher. But even that now is becoming so difficult because of the intense competition in such an atmosphere where paper leaks have become a sort of a regular phenomenon affecting lakhs of families, lakhs of students who prepare for a long time and then finally their exams and other things are cancelled. So this is basically a politics of the country is affecting our education, has been affecting since a long time. And even I would say, even the content of our educational books, that is also being tempered in a very bad and retrograde and unscientific way. So what is needed, I think, Professor Arun Kumar's comprehensive presentation, I think it needs to be disseminated to all our social media so that they try to understand the basic malady with which our educational system is afflicted. So with the new government, which doesn't have that much intimidating mandate as it had in the last time, one can hope that a powerful movement of our students, teachers, and others can try to affect, influence the government policies in a way where number one, I think privatization has to be greatly reduced, and the education in public institutions like government education institutes, municipalities, and universities. Now even the private universities have come up with a big number. I am really surprised about that. How much heavy fees the students have to pay to get their doctorate and to get tuned in the research work. So all this reality, I think, has a comprehensive solution of some friends suggested that it should be mandatory and compulsory for elected representative of ours to put their children in the public schools. I don't know, it sounds like a good suggestion, and that may be the way where educational system will improve so that even when our elected representatives are serious about it, then you can ensure that this becomes more better than even the private schools, and a reverse migration of the people from private schools to government schools and public sector schools. So here there has to be a big participation of society in implementing the type of ideas which have been presented and given in this presentation. And I do agree that JNU has been a real model of what education means, not very expensive and not very sort of a giving the chance to students to flourish themselves, to think for themselves, and not to take it in learning by rote. So it's a comprehensive problem. While we try to oppose this present type of examination system where such things are taking place, I think at the same time there has to be a, as of course I do congratulate All India with this our association for taking this up continuously. I'm sure this is a time to intensify our education and in all the fields try to form cells in the university which raise this voice. And now, of course, I'm sure that there may be many students and teachers who will realize the fallacies of the present system, which leads to leak and things like leak paper leakages and ruining of the life of students in a serious way. So I have a feeling that we can go from university to university, form the cells of teachers and students to stand to support the type of resolution which has been presented. So, in nutshell, I would like to say that this coaching system has to be abolished in a long-term way. Privatization of education has to be done away with, and sort of democratization of education, where and the other, of course, the other angle I like to point out, our social scenario has become such that minority communities are not getting place in the schools, in the big schools, in the private schools. Their children, those children are harassed. We have known the case of Tripta Tyagi and another teacher, how they humiliated the students, minority students. Even that we have to keep in mind that in society, the type of divisiveness which has been instilled, that also needs to be utilized for a healthy development of our society overall. So, finally, I will just request two things because Professor Arun Kumar's presentation has covered most of the points. So, I would suggest two things. That one is that we intensify our education from university to university. Number two, the resolution which has been read out. I think on the first hand, it looks to be excellent one, but it will be good that if it is circulated to all of us, we can have a look before it is finalized and broadcast further. And secondly, the type of presentation which I saw, it needs to be also popularized in different ways, whatever ways are possible. Seminars at different places, and those things have to be increased in our frequency so that we can make a small impact on the policymakers. Now, I do hope there may be a bit more scope for our pressure to work on the policymakers and try to take along other social movements also to support this type of a thing, because one social movement affects the other. They have a interconnection with each other. So this we not only intensify but also broaden our platform to have dialogue with other leading social movements to lend their support as we lend our support to their movement, so that overall this puts a good pressure on the policymakers to invite a better educational system over a period of time where papers don't leak and this coaching centers are done away with and privatization of education is also done away with. They seem to be idealist at the moment, but long term this has to be goal. Though we may go step by step in this direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable insights into it. Thank you very much. So, friends, now I request Professor L. Jawaharnesan. He was the former Vice Chancellor of JSS Technological University, Mysuru in Karnataka. And he was also one of the very important members of the high level committee in Tamil Nadu, which went into the question of NEET, meaning what is the alternative for NEET. That committee was headed by Justice A.K. Rajan, the retired High Court judge of Chennai. So Professor Jawar Nason played a very important role in giving the recommendations to the Tamil Nadu state government. He is with us to share his valuable insights and suggestions. So, Professor Jawar Nason, sir, over to you, please.
Good evening, dear brothers and sisters from across this country. And it is a wonderful moment that at least that we are able to collectively join together in resisting, in submitting our sentiments and resolutions and our viewpoints against the NEET row that is going on across the nation. And first of all, I would like to submit my solidarity in support of the resolution being passed by the General Secretary of All India Save Education Committee. And it has been wonderfully crafted, and it includes all dimensions of the NEET. And it's sought for a total ban and elimination of the NEET to select the medical aspirants for medical education. So in its second resolution, if I may say so, I would like to submit my little corrections, if it is possible, that the second resolution said a total ban on NEET. In place of it, it sought for a statewide entrance examination conducted by the respective states. I feel that it would be wiser to delegate this matter to the wisdom of the state authorities and the elected states. They may have even better ideas how to address this issue in their own states. So it is better that we leave this matter to the wisdom of the state, whether they go by their own entrance examinations or in association with entrance examinations along with the higher secondary scores, or some states like Tamil Nadu has a long track record of going through n number of permutations and combinations in conducting this examination in the last several decades. And finally, the Tamil Nadu government proved and was fully convinced that higher secondary score was the best to select the students for medical admission. So that means that many states may have different experience based on their demography, based on their conditions, and based on the systems possible for them. So that means that the correction that I'm looking for is that a total ban on the NEET, along with the devolving responsibility to the respective states, and leave the matter, the decision to the wisdom of the states so that they can come out with the best possible selection method. I think that is the only thing, and you may consider that. But we all agree that NEET deserves a total elimination. So if we are suggesting and voicing for elimination for the NEET, elimination of NEET as a competitive examination, and what is the solution then? What is the alternative? Or even if we voice for it, would it stand before the 150 crore people of this country to agree with that unless they understand the nitty-gritties involved in the NEET and also the disastrous impact that it had done since its inception in the year 2016 onwards? So that means that we have to be very careful in voicing against the elimination, the ban of the NEET, because there is no alternate narrative, because they have come out with a narrative that NEET is meritorious and NEET brings merit to medical admission, and the NEET eliminates corruption, and the NEET eliminates commercialization, privatization. And the NEET, for that, they were looking for
they were looking for an alternate, mechanism to select the students for medical education in the past. And because of that, they wanted to centralize it. So these are the three-dimensional narrative that they purported in those days. So because of that, they invented NEET. And to charge, to level charges against this, to disprove this, we have to come out with the narrative. But the narrative has gone reduced now in recent times as simply irregularities. This is really, really worrying me because because the NEET has proved now that we are witnessing, the whole India is now witnessing that there is a large scale skyrocketing, scandalous interferences caused by middlemen in the supply chain of the NEET examination. And there are a lot of brokers, middlemen, and the criminalities are happening in that. And it is not just only this year. It has been reported several years. Only en masse, it has come out now, and the Delhi establishment is not able to hide it. Initially, they were planning to hide it, but fortunately, in total, news are coming one by one, and a lot of fraudulences and malpractices, irregularities are coming to the public or revealed to the public one by one, day by day. So that means, now the central establishment is trying to create a narrative along with its own media all around, and buying the media, buying even the bureaucracies and even the judiciaries. In total, they want to, portray this episode, the NEET row now, as simply irregularity, a matter of irregularity. Is it simply a matter of irregularity? That is my question. It is not. When we are asking for the total ban on NEET, we cannot substantiate it simply by agreeing with it as simply a matter of malpractice or irregularity, because it is more than that. We have to fight for the cause, and the cause should be built upon the invalidity of the NEET as an examination fit for medical, selecting the medical aspirants. So that means how to prove that invalidity, the invalidness of the NEET as a competitive examination in selecting the students as an eligibility criteria is against the law in the first place, and is against education and academic practices in the first place. And that was not told. And purposefully, both the media, the central establishment, in association with the bureaucracy and all its regulatory agencies, in collusion with the other public and the charitable and RSS kind of institutions, they are propagating the narrative now as simply it is irregularity, which is not so. So 10 years ago from now, this same ruling establishment, based on the premise of the Parliamentary Standing Committee in its 92nd report, the report voiced for simply to eradicate commercialization of medical education. And to resolve this, it sought for a common entrance examination. That's it, period. Nothing beyond, nothing less. But having that premise, the current ruling establishment after 2014, it came up with a threefolded narrative that there must be something called an examination called a NEET, and that NEET should be centralized, and the central government should only have, it has only the capacity and competence to conduct the NEET, that examination. And second, because it is meritorious, it ensures merit in selecting the students, and because it ensures the standards in selecting the talented students, and because it is against commercialization, if implemented, NEET is the way forward. That was the narrative in 2014. And since then, they tried for 2 years, and there were a lot of legal, consequences afterwards, and it was delayed. So in 2016, it purchased the Supreme Court to ensure that NEET is valid legally. And eventually, NEET was a reality in 2016. If NEET was a reality in 2016 with the backing of the Supreme Court, we know that whether it was true or not. There are a lot of precedents before that bench passed the ruling in the year 2016. A lot of other verdicts were there on the same issue passed by the benches in the past. But supposing all these things, the 2016 bench in favor of NEET, in favor of the central government, in favor of the narrative, it ruled that NEET was valid. And then it became a reality. So that narrative was triangulated narrative because it is merit, one, and it decommercialized, second, and it has to be centralized. Only then there will be a uniform examination throughout India. There will be uniform standard and quality in the search process of students for the medical education. So this was the case in 2016 when NEET was not an act. It was simply an executive order backed by the Supreme Court verdict. It was not an act. Until 2019, in the National Medical Commission, it became an act. So now it is an act. It is law now. So that means if we are going to seek for a total ban on NEET, which is really good, we have to come out with a narrative and disprove that NEET is not merit and the NEET has not decommercialized. And by conducting NEET by the central agencies like national testing agencies under the national government is incompetent to do that. Unless we do that alternate narrative, a counter narrative, and propagate this among the students and all stakeholders of medical education and general education, parents and students and educators, academicians, and of course the political parties as well, because these are the same stakeholders who supported, who were inculcated with this narrative in 2014 that it is the good. And almost even the opposite party at that time, the Congress, was silent when NEET was introduced, right? So that means almost all political parties were in favor of NEET, except a few in Tamil Nadu and elsewhere. Except few, most of the political parties, major political parties, were in favor of NEET. And it got the supports from all other stakeholders, like the neoliberal market forces supported it vehemently, vociferously. And then the general public, the parents, thought that, oh, NEET is going to bring down the cost of medical education. It is going to decommercialize. So our kids would go and study with affordable cost. So parents agreed, and all eyes were blindfolded. And all were, I would say, indoctrinated. All were indoctrinated. Total indoctrination happened between 2014 and 16 until the Supreme Court gave the verdict. So that means it was a strong campaign. It was like a Goebbelsian campaign. A Goebbelsian campaign was happening and it was a stage managed by the central government at that time. So that means everybody were aligned, and especially all medias, no exceptions, all around India, all were in favor of NEET, and all were voicing for it. So there was a large-scale narrative propaganda happening in the country at that time between 2014 and 16 when NEET was introduced. And now the same propaganda with the same stakeholders like the media, the neoliberal market forces, the private players, the medical education private players, and the so-called intellectuals section of the society, all have joined now to reduce the narrative as simply irregularity, which is not so. Okay, for irregularity, it is insane to call for total ban, because if there is an irregularity, and if there is any malpractice happens, or if there are any loopholes in the framework to be plugged, it can be plugged by suitable remedies. So does it fit or suit for total ban then? So this would be the counter argument if you reduce the narrative into simply something like irregularity matter. So what I call for is a campaign, a counter campaign should be there, and it should be elsewhere propagated through all means, through all channels of communications. including social media, including students and universities networks and associations and other NGOs and institutions. Unless this happens, a total ban on NEET is impossible because it is a law now. To resist that law and scrap that law, we need to have a people mandate now. The people should voice for it. And that must be a solidarity across the east and west and north and south across India. Now the momentum has started, but the people were diverted. The people were diverted as if it is simply a matter of irregularity and malpractice, which is not so. So, let us now look at the three-dimensional, narrative that they created 10 years ago. It is merit. Let us see whether it is merit or not. First, in the first place, what do we mean by merit? There are a number of participants here maybe participating in the audience of this meet. So I'm asking the professors and academicians who are participating now, what do we mean by merit in assessing the academic assessment of achievement of the students? And is it to be simply reduced as a one-off stereotypic, high-stake, multiple choice questions, or it should be cumulative, comprehensive, all-round testing of academic abilities of the students? And surely you would agree with me, it is a comprehensive, cumulative, chronological testing of the academic abilities and achievements in terms of knowledge and skills. That is the norm, that is the formula, and that is the philosophy of education, so of examination. So if it is so, then you ask yourself that NEET is testing this or not. NEET is just simply a competitive examination. It's a norm-based, and it doesn't even have a common core, and it is swayed towards the CBSE NCERT syllabus, and it is against majority of the state board syllabus. So if so, then it is biased, and that means that it lacks merit. On its own concept and philosophy of examination, the NEET is invalid, and that must be communicated across the country. And then the other issue is, if it is so, then you might be asking me whether how this kind of examinations happening around the world are being used. Like, for instance, SAT and CAT, MCAT, UCAT in UK, MCAT in USA, and SAT in USA. These are all competitive examinations. They have a long track record. Especially the SAT examination has a long track record of more than 100 years in its lifetime. But now the SAT has been scrapped by the Ivy League universities like the Stanford University, Harvard University, University of California, Berkeley. All top Ivy League universities have now scrapped. They know that they are swaying towards test-taking skills because the NEET, same like SAT, is demanding test-taking skills. That is enough. A little memorization and test-taking skills enough for you to succeed in the NEET. Is it testing the knowledge, the academic ability of the students for medical education? Not. So by merit, it is not. So some people might be arguing that, okay, we want to go by marks, quantification. And people are arguing that. Even you go by that standard, quantification, by marks, which is valid now. People who have scored 15% to 20%, that is the demarcation, that is the cutoff value now. Approximately it ranges from 15% to 25%. If you secure, you get the cutoff. That means you are eligible for medical admission. So that means those who have scored 15% to 25% marks can enter medical education, as opposed to in Tamil Nadu, for instance, for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, you should secure minimum 97% marks to get entry into medical education. 97%. Whereas those who have scored now 15% and 20% in NEET examination are getting entry into medical education. So whether 15% is merit or 97% is merit. And this 15% is simply a high stake one of a multiple choice question. Whereas that 97% they score in the higher secondary were based on cumulative, comprehensive, all-round testing of the academic abilities of the students, which is valid. What do we mean by merit? By this argument, I say to all Indian fellow citizens, I would say that let us now come to terms that NEET does not ensure merit. NEET does not ensure merit. So that narrative they built up in 2014 to 16, we have to remove that. We have to go against and prove that this is not so. The second narrative, when they inculcated in 2014, was decommercialization. In fact, the Parliamentary Standing Committee suggested to go for a common entrance examination only to curb commercialization and privatization of medical education. So, did NEET eliminate commercialization or not? That is the question. Now, the students who are aspiring for NEET, for medical education, they have to spend about minimum 10 lakhs rupees for minimum 2 years, because most of them are repeaters, repeatedly taking the exam 2 times, 2 years or 3 years. They are pursuing the coaching. And through the afterwards, they succeed. That is the record. So 99% of the students are going for coaching. That is our report, our revelation, our finding. So when 99% students are going through some kind of, coaching, and each of them spend about roughly minimum 10 lakhs rupees, and now the total business of coaching related to NEET has now crossed more than 1 lakh crore a year. It's a huge business. Isn't it commercialization? And then the students at least there are about 1,10,000 medical seats across India available now, UG seats. And more than 50,000 seats, medical seats are being sold for a hefty price ranging between 25 lakhs to 35 lakhs. Now it is going to go and increase further again and again. Isn't it commercialization? Did NEET eliminate commercialization? And more than that, there is another dimension joined now recently into commercialization is the scandals, the networked orchestrated scandals across India. It was in Gujarat, Bihar, Haryana, UP, Madhya Pradesh, all states. It could have happened in Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Karnataka also. If you probe into that, it would have got that network could have been exposed. But it is in the hands of the central government. They wouldn't do so. Their police, their judiciary, all would be suppressed. What we are witnessing now is the tip of the iceberg of the scandal. But the scandal is more bigger than what we think. That means the NEET now they have done should be completely scrapped and the re-exam or some kind of remedy should be done now. So that means in terms of commercialization, so thousands of crores of rupees are being transacted in these scandalous interventions in the process of the NEET examination by the middlemen, the brokers, and the hijackers, the hackers who hacked the question papers. So it proved it did not decommercialize. It proved it is not merit. Anyway, the third dimension of the narrative they established in 2016 was centralization. At that time, they said that states were not capable to conduct this kind of high-profile, high-stake examination. And because of that, they constituted National Testing Agency. And this National Testing Agency, now you see, it is highly, highly incompetent. It is highly incompetent. It proved. See, the SAT, conducted by College Board, that is the trust that is conducting, that is the owner of the SAT examination. Every year it probe, it retrospect itself into the conduct of the SAT as an examination, whether it is justifying its role, its purpose or not. It promotes diversity or not. It promotes inclusivity or not. Every year there are reports in the SAT. and they are introspecting, retrospecting themselves, and they are trying to improve the conduct of the and the framework of the SAT as an examination, as a competitive examination. They are trying, but still they are not able to. They are improving day by day. But this NEET, since its inception in 2016 onwards, there are about 8 years gone. What had happened? Any one report came out of the National Testing Agency showing that it tested, it reviewed its practice, its framework as to its validity, feasibility, as to the problems that it inherently poses, and as to plugging the problems it faced since its inception. Nothing. Is it an agency? If it is an academic agency, they would have done it. It is a bureaucratic administrative agency barking for the voice of the orders of the rulers. How can we expect of any good out of the National Testing Agency? So it is incompetent. So that means that in all respect, the three-dimensional, three-folded narrative that they have created those days have been disproved now by its own. It dug its own, grave. Now it is proved beyond doubt. So what is next? So it proved that it could not decommercialize, and it proved that it is not merit, and it proved that the National Testing Agency or the central government is unfit and incompatible or incompetent to conduct an examination of this. In all respect, that is why NEET deserves a total ban, total elimination. It should be thrown out of the subcontinent of India. Once for all people should be aligned on this notion, aligned on this slogan. That is the alternate counter narrative. The counter narrative is NEET is not able to decommercialize. NEET is not meritorious, and NEET should not be centralized. It's not a centralizable matter. So that means this is what we said in Tamil Nadu in 2021 as a part of the high-level committee where I played a major role, an instrumental role in preparing the report, in coming out with a wonderful report. It revealed everything. Whatever I am saying now, whatever you and all across our brothers and sisters in India are saying now have been well revealed long back 2021. At that time, when I came out, or the people associated with this kind of reports and things, our brothers and sisters came out, no one believed. So at that time, we proved that NEET was biased in favor of NCERT and CBSE. And NEET was not predictive. If there is a competitive examination, it must be able to show its predictiveness. In the aftermath of the examination, it proves the worthiness in those who have been selected for that purpose. So that means in the aftermath of the examination, whether students perform well or not, the NEET should have predicted, and NEET should have been reviewed, assessed whether it has the predicting ability to ensure that in the aftermath of the examination, students are doing well in the MBBS or not. NEET did not do so. Our report proved. And then our report proved that NEET promoted coaching as opposed to learning. Learning must be fostered. And the learning was completely scrapped in favor of NEET. Coaching had to be there. So it promoted coaching and also commercialization. And then one of the largest impact of the NEET in Tamil Nadu in our report where we studied, we found that it is vulnerable to charges of a social biasness, economic biasness, regional biasness, linguistic biasness, and the board of studies biasness like CBSE state board biasness. And it was biased in all respect. So for instance, in our report, we found that before the NEET, there were a negligible number of CBSE students entering into medical education in Tamil Nadu. Negligible number, not even 1%. Almost zero in some years. But after the NEET, there were 30%, approximately 30% of the CBSE students occupied medical seats. So almost about 30% students lost to CBSE from the state board students. And number two, it was against the vernacular language students. the Tamil medium students, those who have pursued Tamil medium students, have got about at least 14%, 14% share in the medical seats before NEET. But after NEET, it was reduced to less than 2%. The government school students at least had some places before NEET. But after NEET, it became zero in the year 2017, and it was reduced to less than 1% after NEET. And in year 2017, it was only zero. So that means the government students who are poor students have completely lost their share in the medical seats. The rural students lost a 12% drop in their admissions. And English medium students got 10% hike, and Tamil medium students got 10% drop in their medical seats. And then the first generation graduate students, the students from the family of first generation graduates, and they lost 10% after the NEET. And those who are poor under the poverty level have got 5% drop after the NEET. And before NEET, it was well diverse. It was all inclusive. All walks of life have been there. But after the NEET, all diverse walks of life have been prevented from entering medical education. That's why the World Medical Education Federation, the World Federation for Medical Education, always for the past several years emphasized that medical education should be diverse with a diverse participation from across all walks of life, from all social backgrounds, from all religious backgrounds, from all demographic backgrounds, rich and poor, rural and urban, English and vernacular, in all respect. Only then medical education will yield better doctors to serve all categories of the social segments. But NEET disproved all. So isn't it a fitting case that we strongly voice for rejecting the NEET and throw this NEET out once for all? And we didn't do that. We were not able to do it because the narrative that the central establishment, inculcated on the Indian subcontinent was having a larger voice than few of us, you and me. So that's why I'm saying that there must be a counter narrative. The counter narrative is simply to be the NEET is not ensuring merit and standard in the medical education selection process, number one. And number two, the NEET is promoting commercialization as opposed to decommercializing medical education. Number two, and the NEET shall not be the central responsibility, it should be the state responsibility as before. Only then at least the medical education and medical service would be saved. It is not just a simply medical education, friends. It is medical service. Your heart, your body vitality, your health, everything will not get a proper quality medical service in future. In 10 years, I tell you now, most of my brothers and sisters are not going to get a proper quality medical service I'm talking about, after 10 years. That is the prediction in our report. We have made it. So imagine if this is the case in Tamil Nadu, imagine in UP, Bihar, and all over where the medical service is lesser than Tamil Nadu. It is going to further worsen. My brothers and sisters all across this country in UP, Bihar, Gujarat, everywhere, all are going to be affected in terms of lack of quality education, quality medical service because of, poor medical admissions in the medical education. This is the truth. So that is why I call for a counter, narrative revolution. And we have to build opinion across the countries, across our brothers and sisters. And we have to find out the ways and means continuously and show our solidarity in resisting, in disproving, in exposing the weaknesses and the disastrous plot, inculcated by the examination called NEET. So that is why we have to, instead of simply reducing our focus on the irregularities and seeking justice for the irregularities and the scandals and some malpractices, We should fight and voice for more. This is my message. The message is counter argument and counter narrative. Let us debate. Because when NEET was introduced, it was not debated across the country. It was not even debated in the parliament. And it was simply, through the back door of the Supreme Court, by purchasing the Supreme Court, they got some kind of Supreme Court orders or the endorsement. And with that backing, it is still continuing. So that means that let us, brothers and sisters, we have no time. This is a good moment. At least people are waking up now, and we have to enlighten them. Otherwise, we are at failure. Otherwise, it is our fault if we don't reach out the people and enlighten the people and educate the people and build up opinion on the narrative, the counter narrative against the NEET. We will not be able to ban and eliminate NEET. This is my message. I request all brothers and sisters to show solidarity on this message with the counter narrative revolution. That is the only solution. With this momentum, we can mount pressure on the central government policymakers and lawmakers. Only then it will happen. Thanks for the time. Good evening.
Thank you, Professor Javarnesan, for your very powerful deliberation. Thank you very much. Dear friends, we are heading towards the end of this program. Professor Sukadev Thorat, the former chairman of UGC, he joined us and he was with us. But right now, he has sent a message that due to unavoidable reasons, he was forced to leave this meeting. In the end, after listening to all the speakers, he wanted to make some observations, but unfortunately, we are unable to avail it. Due to his unavoidable reason, he has been forced to go out of this meeting today. He has sincerely apologized to all of you. So surely we will consult him and take his messages later. Friends, now end of this program, our Honorable President, Shri Prakash Shah, he is not only the president of today's meeting, he is the All India President of the All India Civic Education Committee. He is with us. I request our Honorable President to make the concluding remarks and conclude today's meeting. Over to Prakash Shah.
Well, friends, I think we have a very good presentation from Professor Arun Kumar as also from Professor Hassan. Both of them gave us a perspective and also a sort of a thrust towards thinking for a total change. We have to build a counter narrative. Enough of irregularities and enough of our trying against irregularities. The point is that the very approach on which the present day NEET policy is based is simply faulty. So it's no use to criticize it only on the ground of irregularities, but the very basic facts, they should be challenged. Now it is vindicated in the NEET. Now it is vindicated that it has not decommercialized our education. Now it is vindicated that the centralization is pursued. I mean, centralization is a sort of a fad of the present setup. They have a mind full of so-called nationalism. One nation, one election, anything one. After all, election is to be won. So one. No. That cannot be considered. The point is that we have to go back to states and at state level and the point that NEP has overlooked, in spite of mentioning in spite of mentioning the point that NEP has overlooked is the place of our own languages. The word used by Professor Hassan was vernacular. I will say our own languages, all our languages, all our Desh Bhasas, and students learning in it must have a fair chance, a fair play, and so NEET needs to be attacked on the basis of a counter narrative. We have to make our people understand that NEET is sort of thrusted on through a backdoor entry. I won't use, I mean, when Professor Hassan says he means it, but then being a little polite incidentally, I can't use that SC was purchased, but in anything, SC was sort of, SC was sort of made to understand something different. Everybody has his or her understanding. SC was made to understand something different, but and then a law was smuggled in. You know, these days, this last 10 years, we have a tradition that great laws are passed within 22 minutes. Within 22 minutes. There are 20, I'm using this 22 in a different, there are 22 laws made during uh, the last Lok Sabha, which were each given only 20 to 40 minutes of discussion. I mean, what are we up to? So the counter narrative is to be, NEET is to be challenged, lock, stock and barrel. It is not a question of irregularity. It is a question of totally wrong approach. And for that matter, even NEP needs to be challenged, lock, stock and barrel. And I think this evening has given us a message. Thanks to Professor Arun Kumar, thanks to Professor Hassan, and of course, we know Professor Thorat's mind. He would also have been uh, spoken on these lines. He would also have spoken. Point is, this evening is not the moment of sunset. We are heading towards a sunrise. We are heralding towards a sunrise which is for counter narrative, a sunrise which make us see in broad daylight that these 10 years are wasted, we are misled, and not merely the ruling party will request all our opposition parties, particularly, particularly when now they have a say. Earlier they were also without say, now they have a say. And we have voted for the opposition eh, in a fair number as against the earlier two elections. Now it is a moral duty of the opposition to rise to the occasion and understand the scandalous, mindless policy that goes in the name of NEET. It should go lock, stock, and barrel. And we like the government to understand, and we will like the opposition to understand, appreciate, and sort of attack the present day NEET, not merely on the basis of irregularities, but it being a totally a misconception. New Lok Sabha is inaugurated. Now in the third week of, they will begin regular working. In the third week, I think the very first item that should be taken up is this NEET, and which should go lock, stock and barrel. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sri Prakash Shah, for concluding this, presiding over this meeting and concluding this online protest meeting. Thank you very much. So, friends, with the permission of the chair, on behalf of our honorable president, so I like to say that this program is concluded now. Only the program is concluded, but our struggle against this need and our campaign and against this need and to develop a powerful countrywide movement, which was the aspiration of all the speakers here and which was the aspiration of our resolution moved by our General Secretary, which I hope in the online we cannot take the consent of all due to the technical flaw there. But I do understand that the entire country is in support of our resolution, in support of the spirit of this convention. So only this program is concluding, but our struggle against this need and our movement against this need, as well as the corruption there, and against this national education policy 2020, it will continue. So I request all the viewers to join the Save Education movement, help us in all possible ways, make it successful. So thank you all.
On behalf of India's Education Committee, I extend my sincere thanks to all the participants and particularly the honorable speakers who joined and addressed our program. Professor Sukhdev Thorat, he joined, but he could not speak for some technical reasons, and also Dr. Kapil Khan could not join for technical reasons. He tried his best, but he could not join. Whatever our moderator, Rajashekar, has told, I completely agree with him that our movement is on. We have been protesting against this during last 1 week from 27 June to 3rd July. And the states have reported at the beginning that the state chapters have already launched movements. They are on the streets, and this movement will be continued for the sake of the aspiring medical students, for the sake of the aspiring research scholars and assistant professors. We also demand that NEET PG examination should be immediately held. And we also demand that UG NEET should the result of NEET 2024 that should be cancelled, and immediately the NEET UG exams should be conducted so that no academic loss occurs. I request you all to join us with the movement in all the state chapters, and we will also launch movement for repealing the NEP 2020. Thanking you all on behalf of All India Civic Education Committee. And thus we conclude our program, today's All India Protest program. Thank you. Thanking you all.